Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm so excited that you are here with me as we get into the Word of God today. If this is your first time, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by and see what this is all about. And I hope that you will join our community. Like and subscribe, that way you'll be notified every time there is or anytime there is any new video released. Okay, so as we continue this series that I'm on right now about women of the Bible, I want to talk about the woman at the well. So, the Samaritan woman at the well can be found in John 4. Now, just for a little backstory or back history information, Jews or the Jewish people are descendants of the southern kingdom of Judah, and Samaritans are descendants from the northern kingdom of Israel that intermarried with the Assyrians. They only followed the Torah, which is the first 5 books, whereas the Jewish accepted the whole Hebrew Bible, which is the Tanakh. If I mispronounce that, I apologize. And they had their own community and religious practices. Okay, so how this all starts is this Samaritan woman is going to the well of Jacob to draw water about the 6th hour. So that would be about noon. So it's probably really hot. Like there's probably nobody else there. And she knows this. So she's going to be alone. So she doesn't have to worry about judgment or anything from anybody else, the whispers, the gossip. So 6th hour about noon. So it's hot, probably like scorching hot. But anyways, so Jesus is there, and when she comes up, he asks her for a drink of water. And she's probably shocked because her response is in John 4:9. She asks him, "How is it that you, being a Jew, ask a drink from me, a Samaritan woman? For Jews have no dealings with Samaritans." Then Jesus goes on to tell her about herself, and that can be found in John 13, starting in 13. And Jesus answered and said to her, "Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again, but whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. But the water that I shall give him will become in him a fountain of water springing up into everlasting life." Now the woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water that I may not thirst, nor come here to draw." Verse 16, Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband and come here." The woman answered and said, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You have well said, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one whom you now have is not your husband, in that you spoke truly." So now Jesus has done read her mail. So he is telling her about herself. So after she has this amazing, insightful conversation with Jesus about who he is and what he can do, she runs back to town and tells the people about the incredible encounter she just had with Jesus. Her going to share her testimony leads many of the Samaritans to believe in Jesus. So he spoke to her and revealed who he was to this Samaritan, to this woman. So she may not have been called an evangelist or seen the way we see evangelists now, but reading this, it seems like she shared the message with passion, even though she was looked down on by others. So the fact that she shared her experience with others and she was passionate about sharing what had happened to her with others, that sounds like an evangelist to me. So she didn't have years of formal education or training. She didn't go to college for years. She didn't shadow anybody for years. She went and shared her experience, her encounter with Jesus. She went and shared that with others. Can you imagine how much joy she had when she was going to share this? Because I'm sure she didn't just go up and say, "Oh, hey, I was at the well. While I was there, this guy named Jesus was telling me about my past. And then he was telling me about some water that I could have that would never run dry. And it was pretty cool." No, I'm pretty sure. Doesn't say it. She was super excited about it, but the way she runs into town to tell others about this leads me to believe that she was excited about what Jesus had said to her, what he could do for her despite her past. Or I am super excited knowing that God knows everything, yet he still loves me and he has saved me and I have been forgiven and washed. And as I was reading, I came across an article that said later on she became known as Saint Potini. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which means luminous or enlightened one. And I could see why she was given that name again, because there was so much joy and excitement from her after hearing what Jesus had told her. So we don't have to have years of formal education. We don't have to have years of training to be able to share the truth of God with others. I'm not saying that you don't need some kind of education, training, or understanding to share the word with others, because you want to make sure that you have a firm understanding of the word and who Jesus is and what he has done for us, and who God is and what he has done for us. You also want to make sure that you are firmly planted in the word before you go sharing with others, because you do not want to misinform anyone about anything in the Bible. When you are sharing the word, you want to make sure you are sharing the truth, not your opinion, not your truth, but the truth of the word with them. So I'm not saying that you can go out and start a church and have no education or no training or anything like that. You can just go out and start a church all willy-nilly. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that you don't have to be in fear of sharing the word with others because you think that you are not educated enough or that you are not trained to do so, because you are sharing your testimony. You are sharing your encounter, your experience with Jesus. And that alone can be encouraging to others. And you didn't have to have formal training for that. You just had to step out of your comfort zone and share what God has done for you. Give your testimony. Don't hold it back, because your testimony might be the one testimony that someone is listening to and they say, "Hey, I was there," or "That's where I'm at." I can't believe someone who's a Christian has been in the same place that I'm at. And that can be encouraging to them to say, okay, so I can get out of this. I can be forgiven. I can be loved. So, this video is not to say having formal education is bad and you can just go out and do your own thing. I'm not saying not having any kind of education is better because all you need is the experience of God. Yeah, you need the experience, that encounter, but you also need to have a really good understanding of the word and what you're saying. So you need to make sure that you are spending time with God, seeking Him, seeking understanding of His word. This one has helped me because I know, me personally, I've had that experience, that encounter with Him, with God, but I would always kind of shrink back when it came to talking about it and sharing the gospel with others. And it's not because I don't want people to know. I want everybody to know Jesus, and I want everybody to know what He has done and what He can do and will do. I want everybody to know Him and have a relationship with Him. But at the same time, I would feel like I was not educated enough to share who He is. Like I was going to somehow say something wrong or mess up something. And the same way with prayer. I would not want to pray for others because I would be scared that I was going to pray the wrong way or say something wrong because, I haven't had the training for it. I didn't go to seminary school to be able to talk to people the right way and pray the right way. And, that's where I was. And that's why I'm doing this series, because as I'm going through this, I'm seeing that these women were bold. They were bold and they loved God. They were faithful. And they also shared with others the truth of God, the truth of Jesus. And they didn't have to be formally educated, they shared their experience. So if there comes a point when you're talking to somebody and you're sharing your experience and somebody asks a question about something you don't know, by all means tell them, I don't know. Let me get with the pastor or someone who has been in this walk longer, and I will talk to them and I will get back to you. But don't be afraid of those hard questions. Don't be afraid that just because you don't know the answer that you're not good enough to be able to share the gospel with someone else, because you are. You don't have to shrink back and be afraid. We were called to go out and share the gospel. That doesn't mean it has to be vocationally. You don't have to be a minister. You don't have to be in ministry. You don't, not necessarily anything like that, but just to step out of your comfort zone and share with someone your experience or your encounter could make a huge difference in someone's life, to know that someone who is now a Christian walking in the light has had an experience similar to or the same as where they are, and they can see that I can do that. I can have that relationship. Where I'm at right now, the place I'm in, does not have to be where I stay. This does not have to be a permanent place for me. Just know that if you feel uncomfortable, sometimes you got to step out of that comfort zone. I keep saying that because that's where I was. I would just say, I just don't feel comfortable. I just don't feel comfortable, until I just stepped out of that comfort zone. I was like, Lord, I want to share your word with others. I want people to know you, but I am scared. And that's what I said. I am scared that I'm going to mess it up somehow, and the people are going to hear me talk, think I'm just babbling, and I don't know what I'm talking about. And then it's going to have the opposite effect. And I was like, Lord, just give me the words to speak. Tell me what to say. And most of the time, it just comes down to me telling my experience or my walk, just letting people know my encounter. So, I hope this time that you have spent here with me has been encouraging. And I know it was kind of like all over the place. Sorry about that. This was one of those that kind of sat with me. And once I start talking about it, I just kind of talk. So, I'm going to stop right there. I hope everybody has a great weekend. If anybody else is in a situation or has ever been in a situation where you feel like you can't share the word because it scares you because you don't know enough, if you don't mind, let me know, let others know how long after coming to know Jesus did it take for you to be able to feel comfortable to share the word of God with others? Or what did you do to push yourself out of the comfort zone because you have such a desire for others to know Jesus and a passion to share his word of truth with others? What did you do to push yourself out of your comfort zone and start sharing with others? Because I don't want to be just a wallflower anymore when it comes to my relationship with God. I want to be on fire, radical. I'm not trying to be in people's faces and pushing on people, but I want people to know when it comes to me, what you see is what you get, and you see Jesus, and that's what you're going to get. So, now, I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I will see y'all next time. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And this is such a great time for me. I hope it's a great time for you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.